All right, we're rolling. Peyton Rutkowski. I didn't butcher the last name.
No, you didn't.
I'm super glad that you're here. I'm excited to pick your brain. Before I dive in, though, I want to kind of tee up the reasons why I'm excited to pick your brain and give the audience a little bit of insight into who you are.
Okay.
So first and foremost, you're our production manager here at Ascent Digital, which is your full-time, your full-time job, your main gig.
Main gig.
But there's so much more than just that to you. There's all of these cool, unique things about you that I think are really, really cool, and excited because it kind of makes up this whole package of who Peyton is. So for the audience, you are our production manager.
Yeah.
One of the most talented videographers that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Just insane talent behind the camera. You're an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. You have a Durango Candle Company that you have grown tremendously and done a great job with your own business ownership.
Thank you.
You're a hockey player, and a badass hockey player at that. For everybody listening, I have watched Peyton play with the grown men, and I've even seen you check them to the ground and get after it in the hockey rink.
Yeah.
You're a musician.
Yeah.
You're a cook. You're a dog mom. There's so much more to it too. I'm trying to think now, but there's all these. We'll look at your Instagram and
it's random.
You'll be doing the most adventurous stuff or at the symphony or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's all of these. Go ahead.
I think about that a lot. Like when people stop on my Instagram, they're like, "What does she do?" What? Yeah, it's crazy.
What's cool about it though is you're living this life with a ton of what I'll consider rich experiences, a ton of depth and wide variety of things. You're also our resident astrology expert. I forgot to mention that. So that it's worth mentioning that. What makes things even more remarkable, in my opinion, is that, we've got this resume that's that long.
Yeah.
And you're only 24.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see not only the depth and the expertise in which you've kind of approached your life, but the rapidness with it too. Yeah. And so there's all of these, and for everybody listening too, there's Peyton and I, we get along great and we don't get along great because we have such similar, similar personalities. But I'm super excited to pick your brain, get into your mind a little bit, and learn about the world according to Peyton, because the things you've accomplished at such a young age is incredibly uncommon, especially now. Yeah. I mean, I remember when we were first starting Ascent and you had Peak Motion running. Yeah. And, we've always been professional collaborators and following each other on Instagram, kind of watching the journeys. But you've been getting after it always.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Because so many people are more of they graduate college and they want to find a job or do the thing, and you're like, I want to do all the things, Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest, and I think you and I are in the same this way, but I get bored really easily. So I like finding different things to put my energy into, and I don't like doing the same stuff. So I'm not going to want to do hockey every single day of the week, or I'm not going to want to cook or bake every single night. I like changing it up because I get bored really easily. I think that's kind of where it stems from, for sure.
Why do you think, but you stick with things consistently. So it's are you feeling that you find fulfillment from the variety of things, weekly? The routine side of it is what bores you, because the thing doesn't bore you.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I don't know, again, I just get really, really bored. So it's easy to just occupy myself with a bunch of different activities and do it, whether it's every day or every week or whatever. I just enjoy going into multiple outlets of life. I don't know. And just being a creative person, there's so many outlets out there, music or painting or baking or whatever. I just enjoy doing it all.
One thing that I think is noteworthy. We've talked about the variety of these things that you do.
Yeah.
But you also don't half-ass any of them.
No.
Like you're kind of all in on all of that. Help me understand that a little bit. The mentality behind how you approach these different components of your life.
Yeah. I was definitely raised as a person to not go half-ass. If you're going to do something, do it right. And I take that obviously with everything that I do, because I'm not here to waste my time, and I want to go and get things. It's not like with Durango Candle, I want to be a billionaire with it or whatever. Like, that's not the point. It's just like, I'm going to put all my energy in it. And if it fails, like, I know, like, I'm not going to regret it. Like, yeah.
I think it was yesterday we were driving to meet with a client, and we were talking about, I think it was yesterday, this idea of like, I share that perspective. If I were to die tomorrow or in 100 years, I don't care. But what I do care is that when people are at my funeral, they're saying, he went all in.
Yeah.
Left it all on the field.
The scariest part is what if? Like, just thinking about it, like, anything you do, what if I did better? Or what if I did this? Like, just do it, So
how do you find the things to pursue? And specifically, I'd love to get a little bit more in depth on the videography side of things. Going all in and pursuing things with that full intensity to not have those what if questions. But it also feels like you've got a true passion for the things that you're doing, especially video. I mean, and that's why the quality stands out so much, because you not only have you gone all in and you've got some natural talent with it, but there's a passion and some intensity from it.
100%.
Two-part question. Part number one is, how do you find the things that are worthy of your energy, worthy of you going all in?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'd love to hear the journey, from videography and how you've discovered that as a passion and kind of explored it and turned it into where it is now.
I think why being at Ascent and just doing videography in general, like, I like to excel at it and do my best, is because, again, I like to get bored pretty easily, and being able to work with multiple clients in an array of different categories is, like, to me, so fulfilling, because you get to, like, spend your energy, like, I don't know, working with the symphony and doing stuff like that, or working with a specific restaurant, or just anything like that. It's just, I don't know, it's more fulfilling being able to change things up and, like, put all my energy into, like, different categories of life. And I think that's what's fun.
Helping you avoid the boredom with with the same medium.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about how it all started.
So I started videography when let's back up. I was in high school and I did newspaper, and I was making, like, magazine spreads for our newspaper, whatever. And writing stories, getting photos and stuff like that. And our school decided to put in TVs in the hallway. And that to me was an opportunity to get into the video game, because I always, like, wanted to do that. So I obviously have a passion for sports. So I took it on myself to just go to a bunch of sporting events and games and whatever, and just shoot them and make, like, mini promos to put up on the big screens, like, in the hallways and stuff. And it was so fun because our school was packed. We had, like, 3,600 kids go to Grandview, and just being able to walk down the hall and everyone, like, see the recap of the game or, like, the promo of the game coming up tonight, like, was really cool, and people were, like, talking about it. And, like, I think from there, video just kind of, like, that was the spark, and I kind of just kept with that. And then I obviously continued newspaper. I went to college at Fort Lewis, and I got a major in journalism and multimedia, so just continued that path, and a major also in marketing. So I just kind of combined those two, because being able to apply it to a business setting and do something actually, like, realistic with it was definitely the goal.
You said you took it on yourself.
Yeah.
Did you literally, like, take it on, you just went and started filming?
I just went and filmed. Yeah. And, like, we had to write the stories anyways for, like, the sports and everything, but no one was doing video, and I didn't even know if these videos were even going to show up on the TVs. But I was like, we'll just throw it on the website if it's not going to show up on the TV. So I just went and did it, and it ended up, we figured it out with the IT department.
I remember too, we were on an airplane flying back from, I think we're flying back from Arizona, and you were showing me like these really, Era 1 footage from like playing around with the GoPro and stuff. And so it was so fun to see
the growth.
Yeah. And more so that like there's something clearly that, you've been passionate about video for a decade.
Yeah.
And for somebody who's only 24 to have a passion for a decade is significant. A third of your life, you've been passionate about the video side of things, which I think is cool. I want to hear more of the mindset between like showing up. I took it on myself and made it happen. Cause I've seen that happen in your life. Hearing that in high school makes so much sense for me because I've seen so many times when you're like, I'll be there, I'll show up, and you've got this like, there's a confidence about you without a arrogance or cockiness at all. It's a very like professional, down to earth, and it's probably because that confidence is grounded in, a stack of evidence that you're where you should be.
Yeah.
But I've seen how that contributes to your success as a videographer. Jumping on bull shoots or, in the bullpens at the PBR or the sidelines of college football games or whatever it is. Where do you think that came from? That confidence to, as you said, take it on myself and show up. Like, was that an intentional, I want to do video, so I'm going to do that? Or was it like, I don't know, help me understand this confidence to uninhibitedly pursue these things and take it on yourself, as you said.
Yeah, I like circling back around to it. Like, I have a fear of what if. And to me, with the work that we do at Ascent or just in general, like with videography, it's like, what if I didn't go to the football game? Or like, what if I did go to the football game and get footage of their players or whatever? Like, what opportunities does that finally lead to? Or what opportunities does that open up? Like, to me, that's how I look at it, because one, I'm enjoying what I do. And then on top of it, it's like, if I wasn't there, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. Because when you look back like multiple years, it's like, if I didn't join newspaper, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, or I would come to it in a different way, or I wouldn't be as good, or I wouldn't be as far along. Like, that's, I think, what's it's stemming from.
I love that because it's like you, by showing up to opportunities, whether it's newspaper or filming the filming the sporting events or anything in life, really, you allow all of the potential paths to stay an option.
Yeah.
By not showing up, you eliminate many, potential life paths. I love that. I've never really thought about that of like, if we show up, we don't ever have to question what if.
Yeah. And
it gives us the opportunities to, that's so relevant to my life and the experiences, even from a professional perspective and even a life one of, I've never regretted going to something.
Yeah.
I've regretted many times not, or like letting fear of failure, hold me back or whatever, but showing up and like letting those opportunities kind of come to fruition. That's a cool way to think about
it's even
life
like
in general.
Small stuff too. Like, think about it just like from your standpoint of life. Like, if I don't put on my shoes this morning and go for a run, like, is that going to affect my time like in the future? Like, you have to think about where you've come from like multiple years back, and it's like, dang, if I didn't do that, I would not be where I am at right now. So it's like, it's just interesting to like take inventory of like what you've done in the past and like, what if I didn't do that, Is that what if, or not that like mentality of showing up to keep all the opportunities open and knowing that it can lead to these other things. Has that always been an intentional mindset for you, or have you kind of grown into realizing that there's merit there because you've shown up? Like, what happened first? You knew that you had to keep showing up, or you did and you saw that it was working? Yeah, I think the what if is definitely rooted from fear. And like, I don't want it to say I'm ruling my life based off fear, but I think it definitely stems from that. Like, I had my own marketing company before Ascent, and there was a lot of things like I wasn't doing. And to me, it's like, if I look back at that, it's like, what did I do wrong, or what if I did this, or stuff like that. Like that part scares me. So going all in and doing something the right way is just, it's more rewarding.
And, you know, and on the, like the marketing company side of it,
Yeah.
for those what ifs, you wouldn't have been nearly as of an ideal, you know, person for us to pursue had you not had that, even if it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
So like even that one, you know, kind of going all in and pursuing that, like, because it showed all these characteristics about you that I don't know if you even realized, like this, the ambition side of it and the business side of it and the customer interaction side of it, all of these other facets to success there that, you know, so many videographers have a portfolio.
Yeah. It's being able to like apply it to business though too. And I think that's what I really like. And I would like to say I'd excel at it. It's like, we say a lot at Ascend, it's like we love to help businesses grow because then we grow. And I think that's just like the most important part. It's like, I'm going to grow as much as I can and do the best I can with everything that I do. And that's not what I was doing at Peak Motion. Like that was more just like, I'm getting this done. I'm getting this done. Like that's what's the difference between Ascent and Peak Motion.
And because from a personal perspective, you were feeling like growth was being inhibited or that you weren't set up to thrive? Like what was the driving factor?
I didn't have like the infrastructure I needed to grow as much as I did. And I think that's why our partnership was well, or like me coming on to Ascent and working for you guys was probably best because I knew what I was good at and I knew what I was bad at, and you guys were really good at what I was bad at. So it made it really easy to
a win-win.
Win-win. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm curious and for the audience to know too, a little more, I spaced some of these when I was giving the introduction, but some more context and some more depth for Peyton and some of the reasons why, to be totally honest, I admire you for so many ways because you have this growth mindset that you've applied in so many other, you know, in so many other components of your life.
Yeah.
I know for a very long time you were not drinking alcohol and, you know, focusing on exercise and things like that. And some of that stuff was so, well, I'll be totally honest with you. It inspired me. Like I remember when it's been a while back now and you weren't drinking. And I think we were, it was a situation in which the drinking was normal. A client thing or a Christmas party or whatever. And you were just confidently like, no, I'm not drinking. Like it's all good. And I remember thinking like, I want to be able to say that.
Yeah.
Like how cool was that for, you know, again, an early 20s, you know, a young female to not be drinking too is even more.
That was the weird part.
And now we're 4 days in to the caffeine.
Oh gosh.
To the caffeine cleanse.
Yeah, for everyone out there, I'm not drinking caffeine this year, which has been probably harder than alcohol.
I'm sure. But those are those things that I observe all along the way that are insightful to like these larger character traits. You know, and I think that it just speaks to kind of your mentality behind who you want to be and the life that you want to have and things like that. I would love to hear like who in their right mind would say, I'm going to just stop drinking caffeine or I'm going to stop drinking or, you know, whatever. What's your mindset and your thought process behind those intentional, and that's it's important to mention that too. It's not like, you know, Peyton got a DUI and they're like, no drink. Like these are choices that you're intentionally making.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason. Yeah. And it's also worth mentioning, it's not just a one-off. Like I'm using these two examples, but I've seen time and time again, you purposefully make these decisions that are hard, but you make them with conviction and with confidence and you stick with them.
Yeah.
Why?
I like the challenge. I do drink coffee every day because I have a hard job and like you got to stay up.
Like the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like we all drink coffee. And to me, like just looking at my New Year's resolutions, I was just like, I need to like do something this year that's going to top last year. And caffeine it's freaking hard. And I think it's more than just, saying like, I'm not drinking caffeine for a year or something like that. Like it's more of just like, can I do that? You know, like just having the mindset of, can I do that?
Why do you feel, what's the value in testing yourself in those can I do that moments. Why?
So I'm going to get a little deep, and I'm okay with getting a little bit deep right now. But for probably 3 full years of my life, I struggled with addiction, and it wasn't from alcohol, but it was other stuff. And during that time, I didn't have control. And I think part of it now is being able to like test my mind and like the strength of being able to get over something like that. Now it's like, okay, well, if I got over something that big, like what can I do now? So it's more of just like training it and testing my ability to like get over something big like that.
Like you feel like there's a need to prove to yourself that you still have that? Because overcoming addiction in the first place that's done.
Yeah.
You know, like that was accomplished.
Right.
Why the need to continue these like mental, intentionally choosing hard things?
I'll give you an analogy. If you're running for a race and you're training for it and you're done with that race, are you going to stop training?
Depends. After my 100 miler, I'm probably
done.
No, but
I'm done.
Of course not.
You know what I mean? Like there's always like something next that you're working towards. And like we think about physical challenges and training like physically. And we also think about like mental challenges and stuff like that or emotional challenges. And I think it's important to like train each one of those. And that's kind of just like what I'm doing.
Yeah. Are you finding that it's impacting other components of your life?
Yeah. Like you get into the habit of saying no to a urge. And that goes with, oh, like I want this bag of chips right now, or I want this soda right now, or just something like that. Like it's more of just training your mind to say no to things that you really, really want that aren't necessarily good for you. And I think that goes across the board with everything.
Are you familiar with the concept that discipline equals freedom?
Yeah.
I love it because it's a lot of like what you're talking about. And it's so cool because it's counterintuitive on the surface.
Yeah.
Like being disciplined is the opposite of freedom.
Yeah.
But when you see people that practice discipline, they have the most freedom of anybody in the world. Mm-hmm. And I love that when it comes to, you know, like for me right now, I've been forced to test my discipline on my physical pursuits, you know, with my running training for my ultra and things like that. But then you also see like, when I've had financial discipline, now I have financial freedom. Mm-hmm. Or when I've had discipline with, you know, my diet, then I've got freedom with my diet. Or discipline in these other, discipline with the business eventually will lead to freedom with the business. And these things where like the discipline equals freedom idea, I think that relates a lot to what you're talking about with proving to yourself that you can have the discipline to say no to urges, as I think how you kind of called it, which I think there's an interesting thought there too, because I think a lot of times people sacrifice long-term, like big picture visions for short-term urges or like the easier route, and forget that makes the bigger goal
so much worse,
further away.
Yeah. And you said the other day, like, this quote actually resonated with me, and I actually have never heard it before, but the quote, like, pick your hard, that freaking resonated with me. I was like, dang, like, either you can do it now or wait and put it off and have all the anxiety to do it later. Like, just pick your heart and do it now, you know? Like, I love that.
Isn't that a good
resonated
one?
So much.
I love that. So, you know, to a little bit of depth there too, but we've got some addiction struggles in my family.
Yeah.
And we were at a rehab facility and they had these slides playing at the beginning. The family comes and they have like these motivational slides with quotes and images and stuff. And then they did this guided meditation, and we went into there was a family week at the facility. And that was one of the quotes on the screen. And then my dad gets credit for really like pounding it into the rest of the family. And so we've thought of that in so many different ways. Like, you know, being fat is hard.
Yeah.
Being fit is hard.
All of it's hard.
Pick your heart.
Pick one.
You know, being broke is hard.
Yeah.
Saving money is hard. Pick your heart.
Yeah. Would you rather do something hard and still have money, or what? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost that like intentionally doing hard things, discipline equals freedom, pick your heart, whatever. Intentionally doing hard things sets you up for success for actually an easier, you know, an easier life.
Yeah.
All right. Do you feel like that's contributed to your career growth too, or has that presented itself more in your personal life?
I think both. As far as like career goes, there's so many projects where you can look at it and say like, dang, this is going to be incredibly hard. But also looking at, again, the what if I don't do that, and having that like guilt at the end of it, like, oh, I didn't freaking do that project. Like, this sucks. Like, pick your heart. Like that's just like the worst thing to think about. It's like, as far as business goes, just not doing something that you could do if you just put in the effort, if you just put in blood, sweat, and tears. Like, that's the worst.
Where does this mentality come from? Because, you've got, and at the risk of jumping to assumptions, which
right.
I would not want to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times when people will say like, I have an old soul or whatever. Mm-hmm. And really what that means is that they've been through some shit, or, and like, I look at your perspective mm-hmm. on life mm-hmm. and your age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what I wouldn't give to have had that. Like, we share a similar perspective, but I'm 10 years older than you.
Yeah.
And it took 10
you
years.
You make me feel like an old soul. Jeez.
But it took 10 years more of experience for me to get those.
Yeah.
And, I'll share with you that it's a powerful thing. I wish I would have had this clarity that you have in these life perspectives early on.
Really?
I'd be way further ahead than I am now. I had to.
Don't regret that.
No regrets. No regrets. I have a tendency of. If you tell me the stove's hot, I won't believe you until I touch it. So yeah. I have to learn lessons the hard way, which is why now I have an abundance of, wisdom from lessons learned. But
yeah.
I'm curious, because again, to reiterate, I think that not only is your perspective and your outlook on life so refreshing mm-hmm. and so inspiring and so remarkable.
Yeah.
But again, it's happening for somebody who's in their 20s. Mm-hmm. I'd love to, get inside your head a little bit and hear how have you arrived at some of these conclusions? Like, where does this come from? Where does this depth and these insights come from?
Yeah, like, I'm going to be honest, I didn't have the best childhood. Definitely had to work out a lot of stuff by myself and just deal with a lot of stuff. I don't let that define me now, but I think there's a lot of value in the statement of the best things come from the dark. Like, you can only see a light in the dark. And I think you have to apply that to the rest of your life. Like, the hardest struggles and the hardest things are going to teach you the best lessons, And I think part of my childhood, like, taught me a lot of freaking lessons to not waste my time, to do things all in, to, avoid people that aren't necessarily good for you. Like, it might suck to say goodbye to them, but you have to move on and you have to grow. And I'm not going to be too hippie about it right now, but you have to like shed your skin a little bit. And I think that definitely applies both to like life and business.
So, do you feel like, and it's actually interesting because it's kind of along the lines of that, pick your heart or discipline equals freedom, but looking back now on your life with some of those adversities or those hard times, mm-hmm. do you feel like you could be where you are now without them?
Absolutely not. I truly believe everything happens for a reason, whether it sucks, whether it's awesome, like anything. Everything happens for a reason, and you're here right now because of all of those things that preceded.
It's an interesting dilemma that I've been contemplating recently, is like these balances of a firm grasp on life and, these grounded perspectives mm-hmm. without the adversity. And I'm not sure if it's possible.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at it lately from the perspective of a father,
mm-hmm.
and raising my kids and wanting to give them the best life possible. But I also want them to be resilient and confident. Mm-hmm. And,
how much do you give to them? How much is like there for them to figure out by themselves? Like,
yeah. Do you feel like that contributed to yours, that you were like, you had some stuff to figure out on your own?
Yeah. My parents, I'm extremely grateful for it. Back then I wasn't, because I was stuck in my ways when I was a little kid, but, they wouldn't let me do this, or they wouldn't give me this like when I wanted it, or something like that. Like if they did, I wouldn't have saved my money up for something, you know? Like I would have never learned the lesson of financial like intelligence, you know, or just any, like it applies to everything, not just like financial stuff, but just hard lessons, or like in sports, like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, like with hockey or something, because it was a hard game and we lost and I whatever. Like you've moved past it and you tackle the next game, and then I score the next game. Like you have to like learn these things and learn these adversities to be able to come out like on top.
Is that where the confidence comes from too?
From what, hockey, or just
having no choice but to go at stuff alone?
Yeah.
And then seeing the outcome.
That's a good question. I want to say that like going alone at something definitely teaches you things, but there's also value to like having a support team. I'm not saying the best way to raise a kid is to just leave him out in the dust and see like what happens, you know? Like they're going to learn some stuff, and they're going to learn stuff quick, but it might not be like the healthiest way in which they're learning stuff.
So we need healthy adversity, not toxic adversity.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Let's distinguish those two things. But I think there's definitely value in having like a support team as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm curious because, you know, we've kind of talked about this mentality you have of I took it on myself, or had no choice, or, you know, there's kind of this theme of, I don't know, this like, I'm painting this picture in my head of a younger Peyton just saying, well, whatever, I'm going to go do it anyway type of,
yeah, there's pros and cons to it. Let's back up really quick. There's definitely pros and cons to it. And you and I have talked a lot about it, just like as far as business goes, like taking on everything is not healthy. And that's, again, probably stemming from some not so great adversity.
And we share that curse.
Like I'll do it myself. Like I'll just get it done. There's definitely, again, opportunities that come from it because like the job's getting done. So it's definitely opening up something. But there's probably a healthier way to go about it for sure.
Have there ever been times when you were like, you had that kind of, I'm going to just go for it mentality and it backfired?
Ooh. That's a great question. I can't think of any. Have you? And maybe that's the point, you know, like, is there any? Because even if it on the books failed, did it fail?
Right.
Like, let's define failure. You know what
like
I mean? We'll get into it. Like, let's define failure.
That's the thing.
Do you even fail?
I don't even know if that exists because we joke, but we're serious that we share a blessing and a curse.
100%.
Which is the inability to turn it off.
Yeah.
And, you know, just like go get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I've had conversation after conversation with you where I'm like, you know, preaching you know, telling you all this stuff. And I'm like, and do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, you know, and just do it even though I'm not, you know, whatever. But no, that's an interesting thing to think about because I'm trying to think if there's ever been a time where I've regretted my ambition.
Because like everything you've done, from what I've heard, like you go all in too.
All in.
Is there anything that on the book you failed at? Or is it something that like just didn't go the exact way you thought? Is that considered a failure, you know?
No.
Like what's considered a failure?
Quitting. Giving up.
But like, if we're talking in the sense of going all out, that doesn't mean quitting.
No, that's I think the key component is like a failure is different than failing. Yeah. You know, like if you failed, it's over. Yeah. I fail all the time, but then go all in. Yeah. In a different way, or use the lessons or whatever. Mm-hmm. I've never considered that because I sometimes get. I on many occasions actually get pushback that my ambition sometimes is hard to handle, and I understand it. Like my kind of hard charging mentality is difficult to be around, and it is. I've got weakness after weakness after weakness. Yeah. In terms of if it's ever backfired or failed or, you know, that I've regretted it, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. And that actually kind of jazzes me up to think about that because I've thought forever of like, the last thing I want to know is that it didn't work because I could have done more.
What if?
What if? Interesting to think about.
Yeah.
So would that, knowing the, and we should probably talk about the downsides of that too.
There's definitely downsides.
Because we're tired all the time.
Yeah, fatigue.
Stressed all the time.
Burnout.
Mind's going a million miles a minute.
Million miles.
You know, the list is so long. Mm-hmm. Like
it's not necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
It's not. There's definitely a better way you and I or people like us could go about it.
What would be the better way?
Pacing. Treating it like a literal run.
Yeah.
Like not going all in on the first mile and just being gassed the rest of the time.
Don't you think though that the hobbies, so it's so funny now that I'm thinking about these parallels, you know, the mentality that you and I share of going all in and like,
yeah,
you know, chasing it, they also present themselves in similar ways.
Yeah.
Like here I'm about to talk about how, well, of course there's balance because I exercise and I do these other things or whatever. Well, I'm training for a 100-mile, you know, ultra marathon, or, you know, you're checking grown men to the ground in hockey or whatever. So it's almost just like you're taking that ambition and that all in mentality and putting it somewhere else. I would be curious your perspective if that variety that we talked about early on, if that's helping with stability.
100%.
Because if it were all in on one thing,
yeah,
it would maybe be unhealthy. It might be healthy if you're all in on work,
yeah,
hockey, baking,
yeah, whatever,
candle making, because by nature it forces kind of this shift in gears and like
yeah,
a version of rest somewhere else.
I want to like back up too. Like I don't want to generalize everyone either, because I feel like people have different personalities or different mindsets or different backgrounds or whatever. And it's like, I'm going to categorize you and I in the same one. I'm not going to put labels and categories on anyone, but just like applying to you and I, what makes me relax is doing something active like yoga or going on a run or doing something physical like that. And then I have like work stimulation. So like coming to work and being creative and doing that type of stuff and being able to switch all of these things, being creative. Like if I love to paint, I love to cook, I love to do like candle making, like anything like that. Like they're different outlets that I can like switch between and it recharges. So like I think some people though, what recharges them are just doing absolutely nothing. Yeah. And I think that's totally fine.
Of course.
But there's just different categories of people that we can't necessarily like generalize. Like if they're doing this, like we're not going to do that. And that's like not going to energize us. Like we have to like break it up and categorize it a little bit.
Do you think that all-in mentality combined, because there's some complexities here I want to unpack, because we kind of talked about the all-in nature of our personalities, where we put that energy. And earlier we talked about these intentional hard things like quitting drinking or quitting coffee or, you know, these goals that we set for ourselves. Do you think that's because there's a risk where that all-in mentality could turn negative if there's aren't those parameters and those kind of like...
What do you mean turn negative?
Addiction.
Yeah.
You know, things like that, like, you know, all in on the wrong thing or all in on...
100%. Oh my God, that's such a good way to put it.
And I never thought about that till just now, but we both intentionally do that of like I'm quitting drinking right now.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's like to keep it in check almost.
I'm going to go in all in something, so it might as well be good for me. You know?
Ooh, I like that. Like if I'm going to go all in, have it, you know, it might as well be good for me.
No matter what, I'm going to go all in. So it can't be in drugs. It can't be like doing something completely unhealthy. Because like I know I will do it. So it might as well be something good for me and good for my soul.
Do you find the more that you've had this all-in idea and you've also experienced success, does that like feed into it and then, you know, reaffirm your approach to things and make you want to do more of that? Or like what's the feedback loop that you're getting from, you know, your life experiences and you're seeing how your relationships are panning out or your work or your hobbies or whatever. Does it make you think through that stuff or does it like reinvigorate you? What's the the evidence of feedback that you're experiencing in other parts of your life on it.
Yeah, it's definitely a feedback loop. Like looking at it from a business sense, especially in the field that we're in, if you go all in on a video or a commercial or whatever, it's noticeable. And like the recognition you get is definitely like, it's fulfilling, like 100%. And then with personal life stuff, like when I gave up drinking or doing drugs and all that stuff, I like just started focusing on myself and going all in on just like making myself a better person. And I found some of the greatest people, and I'm now in a current relationship with someone who's freaking amazing. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't go all in on myself and just, again, shedded that skin, both when we're talking about personal stuff, business stuff, like anything.
He's also a decent softball player.
He's all right.
Shout out.
No, he's not.
He can be on the Destroyers for at least one more year.
He needs to learn how to hit a little bit, anyways.
We'll give him a temporary, temporary contract for the year. Do you set goals?
Yeah.
Do you have a goal setting process? Like, do you?
Yeah. I like my New Year's resolution. We'll just start there. Like I always do a New Year's resolution. Like last year it was not drinking, and then it was also to relearn saxophone. And I did those things because like I have a little journal and it has like all of my things. Like I need to check it off. Like it's just something that I'm gonna like have to do. And then I set smaller goals like through the day. Like I'm gonna do yoga for at least 15 minutes, even if it is 15 minutes, or I'm gonna eat healthy that day. And it's just like this like routine thing. And I guess like I definitely am a routine-oriented person, as much as, like, I seem sporadic and, like, don't want any boredom in my life. Like, I'm definitely a routine-oriented person. My calendar is ridiculous. But I'd set goals, like, even daily.
It's so funny, the routine thing. I'm to the point now where if my routine gets thrown off, I'm like...
I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, like, I'm upset.
Yeah.
My wife will hear this and laugh, like, oh, sorry, you had to, pick up Carter today at 11. And I'm like, that's going to ruin my whole day.
Everything's all messed up now.
I'm curious, like, with goal setting and kind of this all-in stuff, are you where you thought you'd be at 24? Are you further than you thought you'd be? Are you not as far as you wanted to be? Like, holistically speaking, from and I don't even know if you've ever looked at it from that perspective, but are you like, are you proud of where you're at?
I'm 100% proud of where I'm at. I can't say though that like I thought I would be right where I'm at, or like I'm more of that, because I'm kind of just like a go with the flow almost. But yeah, that's a tough question. I've never like looked at it like that. Are you where you think you would be like 10 years ago? Would you say that you're happy with where you are?
Yeah, I struggle with.
Or like where you could be? Like, do you think you're in the right spot?
If I'm being totally honest.
Am I interviewing you?
Yeah. Who's on this? Who's the guest here? Well, I struggle with that constant ambition, thinking I should be further ahead than I am.
Yeah.
I all the time am like, why am I not here?
I share that with
there?
you. I share that with you. But I think that just contributes to our like go-getter mentality. It's like, but if we look back like 3 years, like, and you look back at like everything you've accomplished, like, do you think like it was all, I don't know, worth it or not worth it, but like.
So where I think the balance can happen with this all-in go-getter curse that people like us have is if you can find a way to find joy and happiness on the way. Mm-hmm. Because I've learned, and I think I'm curious if it relates to your perspective, but are you familiar with the finish line fallacy?
Mm-mm.
So many times, generally speaking, generalizing with the American population,
right?
Everybody thinks that this next thing will be that ticket to happiness. Like, if I get this promotion, then I'll be happy. Or if I get this raise, I'll be happy. Or I get that bigger house, I'll be happy.
Constantly
or,
chasing it.
Whatever. And what ends up happening is you hit the finish line and you're not happy. Mm-hmm. The same life still exists. The thing happened. And then there's a new finish line. Mm-hmm. And there's this kind of always like, I'll be happy when mentality.
Yeah.
And I think that that's dangerous in general. I think it's extremely dangerous for hard chargers, for high performing driven people, because those finish lines are also huge. and require a ton of work and sacrifice and things like that. And I think one of the most dangerous things that can happen is that you get there after all the work and sacrifice, and you've measured this like happiness moment on something that won't impact happiness, and you'll get there and change it. So that's what I'm working on, is like being grateful for where I am.
Yeah.
Simultaneously ambitious as ever for the next thing, and like balancing that of being joyful and appreciative and happy, but also staying in pursuit. Do you feel like that applies? Do you feel like that applies to you?
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Like just always chasing greatness. No, but like always chasing something, and you accomplish that goal. And oh my gosh, it like just applies like what I was saying. Like I was able to go 1 year without alcohol, and there's like something new to chase, you know, like there's just always something new to go after and accomplish. It's just, I'm not sure if, I don't know how to put it. Like if you're accomplishing like all of these goals, like, is it fulfillment to you? Like once you're done with that goal? Or are you more fulfilled on the process, like after, like now that I've done that, like what else can I do? Like, is there fulfillment in that, or is there fulfillment in just accomplishing one goal at a time?
Yeah. And that's the question. There's the $1 million question. I do know that chemically, dopamine especially is released in pursuit of goals. So like that's the
process.
pursuit. Yeah. That's the process. And there's some fulfillment in working towards something that we're getting chemical feedback that it's a worthwhile endeavor. There's definitely happy chemicals that happen with accomplishment,
of course,
too. But they're fleeting, and they kind of go away fast. And that cycle kind of continues. So I'm curious, with where you're at right now, do you feel satisfied? Like, do you feel happy? Do you feel fulfilled?
I'm happy. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied though. I feel like there's always something new that I could be working on. There's always something new I could be accomplishing. There's always a new project that I'm looking forward to. Like, I don't think I'll ever be satisfied, but I'm happy with where I'm at currently, because I don't think I'm always satisfied. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always pushing forward. I'm always looking for my next goal. Yeah.
And you feel like that kind of always pushing, always looking for the next goal, do you feel like that's contributing to a rich life? 100%.
Because if you don't have anything to look forward to, then what's the point? You know, like if you're just stuck in the mundane, what thrill of life is that, you know? Like that to me, and I'm not generalizing anyone, but that to me is a terrible fear of just living mundane and not doing something new.
That's why you do so much cool stuff.
Because I'm bored. But yeah, like just the process of learning something new and like struggling through it. Like, let me tell you, picking up saxophone again was hard, like really, really hard. But like now I can play like where I was at almost. And it's like, that's freaking rewarding.
So with the saxophone though, like here's where I need to like get in your head a little.
Okay.
Let's just use the saxophone for an example. Because there's many things. What's the end goal there? I mean, are we going to master that? Are we going to keep going at it? Is it we're picking it up right now and getting back to where we were? Like where does, generally speaking, help me understand, like when do you then feel satisfied?
I don't think I have an end goal. And I'm looking at that across the board with anything. Like I don't have an end goal with like playing music again, or like my candle company. Like I'm just happy to like do it right now, and like people enjoy my candles or whatever. Like I'm just happy with the process of freaking struggling through sheet music. That's freaking hard. But the little wins is what I enjoy more than the big win.
Do you ever rest?
Do I ever rest?
Like truly rest? Like do you ever get true leisure?
I've been better at it. I've definitely been better at it because I've been finding a lot more balance, and especially with starting Ascend, like it's a big boy job to put it in small terms, but there's a lot more balance in it that I need to find probably, but I think I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you do rest or find leisure, do you actually like let yourself mentally rest, or do you feel guilt?
Why are you calling me out right now, Ben? I think at the start, it was hard to, I would feel guilty. Like, I need to be doing this or I need to be doing that. And I feel lazy. Like, I should be getting up and doing stuff. Like, there was guilt and it wasn't actual rest, even though I was sitting on the couch and watching a movie or whatever. But again, like, I want to back up. Like, I think people's rest are different.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are trying to define it as like one thing is just sitting on the couch and doing absolutely nothing. But to me, like, I get charged up by doing yoga, or I get charged up by just like going on a run or playing hockey, like stuff that's like physical to take off energy off more mental stuff.
Yeah. Well, and what I think is, it's tiring, but I think what's cool about the perspective or the mentality of like this variety of things and allowing these different life paths to stay open by showing up and, kind of these themes that we've talked about. Mm-hmm. What it does is it creates for a roller coaster of a life.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've been actively pursuing with joy, with enjoyment, is experiencing stuff, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it might be, showing up to the thing, going to the game, doing the run, meeting the client, whatever it is, like, because then I look back and I realize that I'm experiencing things, which is giving me broader perspective and helping me understand people differently, helping me be more empathetic, letting me build stronger relationships with people. And all of this stuff has combined to what I'm calling a rich life, like living a rich life that's full of a wide variety of experiences. The caveat to that, though, is that it's tiring.
It is tiring. But think about it, like, all of these things, like, we'll just put it in terms of Ascent, but like all of these projects we've done and all of this experience that we've done, we would not be where we are right now if it wasn't for those and the people we've met and the people they've introduced us to, and like all of the great experiences and going to a rodeo every Wednesday and meeting new people there and going to a powwow. Like, just the cultural like dive into that was incredible. Learning all of these new things, all of these new experiences, like that's what I want to do too.
That's a rich life.
That's a rich life.
What's been your favorite project? Actually, just for fun.
You ask that every time.
Just for fun. It is cool to mention, and that's one of the things it's one of the reasons I love video production specifically as a service that we offer, because it takes us places and it connects us with people and it lets us hear others' stories. In fact, for what it's worth, just for a fun like insight, for anybody listening, Peyton and I and the whole team were a year into a 15-month feature-length documentary project.
Yeah.
Part of that process has been some very in-depth interviews with people. And I've been interviewing people for many times. The dynamic is that Peyton's behind the camera. I'm sitting next to Peyton, conducting an interview and talking to people. And that has been actually what inspired me to start the podcast in general, was all the interviews that we've done for the various video projects, because I've loved just hearing from people and like getting their perspective and learning from them. And there's always these little nuggets that I'm like, I never thought of life that way, or I never looked at it, that way. Yeah. And it's been so cool in our world. I mean, we have literally traveled all over the country. Yeah. We've ridden in private airplanes. Yeah. We've ridden in helicopters. We've ridden in trains. We've road tripped. I mean, we've done it all. We've been in boats.
Yeah, we have.
I'm trying to think if there's a mode of transportation we haven't.
Motorcycles.
All of it.
We've done a lot.
And all over the place doing, freezing cold snowstorms, hot desert days.
Yeah.
You name it, all over the place, which has been so enriching for me. Like I've loved the last few years of the things we've gotten to experience and the people we've got to meet and the stories we've got to tell. So to tee all that up, an impossible question, but if you had to pick one, what's your favorite project that we've worked on and why?
Ooh, you always ask me this. I should have came prepared. I think the one that's coming to mind right now, I have two of them. Can I say two?
You're allowed. This is a safe space.
Okay,
You're allowed
I was
to
like,
say two.
am I allowed to say two?
We won't tell our boss.
When I'm able to combine what I love with what I do for work, like I already love what I do for work, but to be able to combine my interest with work has been incredible. Being able to do something like that's so fulfilling. And I would say recently working with the symphony has been incredible. Like, I love working with the symphony. Like, it's just so entertaining. I've had so many ideas I've wanted to do for years for them, and I'm finally being able to like apply to it. And then with True Western Roundup, like the rodeo and stuff, like I've always loved rodeo, like always. So now I get to film it. Like, it's a dream. Like, it's a literal dream, like being able to do stuff like that.
Aren't we so lucky?
We're so lucky.
We get to do.
And
go ahead.
That's what I want to bring up too. Like, everyone who has like jobs and stuff that they do, like it's so easy to fall into the habit of like, all right, I got to go to work I got to go to work again or whatever. Like, zoom out. You're doing like what you love to do, and you're getting paid for it. Like, and you get to do it every single day of the week instead of like going and sitting at a no hate on the people who like cubicle jobs, but like just like what your passion is, like being able to do that every single day and make a living out of it. Like, you have to zoom out sometimes.
Pretty cool.
You have to zoom out.
Speaking of that, like finish line fallacy and, you know, this like zoom out perspective. There's I follow him on social media. His name's Hermosi, and he's a very successful entrepreneur and got a lot of philosophies that I relate with. But he has a quote that just hits me in the gut every time I hear it.
All right, I'm ready.
You've already accomplished things you said would make you happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
like,
why
zoom out, realize where you are.
I think that's why it's so important not to like dwell on the past, but take inventory. Like, look at what you wish you had 5 years ago. You're probably where you're at, and you're not being grateful for it. And like, you're always asking us in meetings, like, what are you grateful for? And I always feel so guilty saying like, I have a roof over my head and like food and stuff like that. But like, think about it. Like, I was a broke college student. Like, I was there, whatever. And now I like have a home and I have a dog. Like, I've always wanted, like, we'll back up. I've always wanted a freaking dog, and now I have a dog. Like,
just don't ever bring it to the office again.
No, please.
I'm kidding.
But it's just like, it's so easy to look over like the mundane of life and like the simple things. But it's like 5 years ago, like I would have killed to have this, killed for it.
How do you keep that into perspective? How do you
mm-hmm.
keep that, like, I am where I am and I'm grateful for it? How do you zoom out? Do you zoom out enough?
I feel like we could all zoom out more, everyone. I don't know, like, how I apply that to daily life. Do you find yourself zooming out enough?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I need to be better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am where I want to be.
Yeah.
You know, you asked me that question earlier, and I hesitated of like, I think I should be more successful. I think I should be making more money.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled with where I'm at.
Yeah.
Thrilled.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me a few years ago if I'd be doing this, I'd be like, that's the dream.
Yeah. Because, like, if you're not grateful for where you're at, like, I'll get hippie, but the universe isn't going to give you anything more because you're not grateful for what you have now, you know? Like, you have to take inventory of what you have now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that those gratitude mentality makes huge differences because it impacts everything else. And I really do believe that our perceptions become our realities. And when we're practicing intentional gratitude, it opens up all these other opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's powerful.
And not just like saying what you're grateful for, like just to like, oh, I'm grateful for this, like actually being grateful for something. And like, I don't know how to put this. Like, there's so many people who don't have food on their plate. There's so many people who are homeless. There are so many people who don't have like anything. And if we don't even take inventory of like the smallest things, like what's the point of expanding and growing, you know?
Yeah. Which is probably contributes to that ability to zoom out.
Yeah.
And like seeing these other perspectives. I mean, I look at the current events across the world and I'm just so dang grateful that my kids are safe.
Right.
You know, like those little things. And that's easy for me.
Yeah. Being
grateful for where I am on my life trajectory requires more work.
Yeah.
But the gratitude for those other components is something I work on. But so here's an interesting one, because I think one of the things that has helped us with this intensity and, you know, this all in, these like this work ethic, all these themes that, you know, that we've touched on.
Yeah.
It's important to note, though, that it's because we're doing the stuff we're passionate about. what would be your advice to people that are listening and they're like, well, I don't know what I'm passionate about, or there's not the thing that energizes me yet. Like how did you find the passion for video? Like what was the, did you develop the passion? Have you done enough things that you found the passion? Like what's the advice to people that are like, I love that idea, but I know I'm not passionate?
Don't be scared to try new things. Like, don't go into something knowing you're going to hate it. Like there's always something you could do stepping out of your comfort zone. To me, it's this podcast. Like this is, no offense, like this is probably a harder thing for me to do because like I don't like talking in front of a camera, and that's why I'm behind it all the time. But like you have to try new things in order to grow. You're not going to grow doing the same thing over and over and over again because you're going to get the same freaking result.
Dr. Doug Miller, when he was on, and I loved it because I relate to it so much, adamant about growth cannot happen unless you're outside of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And trying new things, I think, would apply
you have to try
being outside of the comfort zone.
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be like monumental things, but just like trying new things, like, I don't know, like if you're into yoga, like just trying a new flow, like just try something new. It doesn't need to be like huge where it's changing your entire life, but you got to try like little things and build up that brain muscle of trying new things and not being scared of it to get to those bigger things.
Maybe that's, because I asked you earlier about like where this kind of confidence to take it upon yourself or to show up.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because there's been a track record of trying new things and now like the fear of the new isn't there. I don't know.
No, yeah, that's a good point. I could definitely see that. I think there's a lot of value in, again, like trying new things and like what we were saying, new experiences. Like you learn so much stuff from it and it might open up a new opportunity where you do end up liking something,
Yeah. What's next?
What's next?
Yeah, like what's the Peyton ambition has to be looking at something. What's the where are you headed? Where's the goals? Where's this energy being put into right now?
As far as business or something?
All of it.
All of it?
Life.
Yeah. As far as business goes, definitely at Ascent, wanting to grow our projects, grow our team, try new things, more experiences, like same thing like we were just talking about. Like I want to continue that. With Durango Candle, a new collection's coming very soon. I'm not going to say when.
Should we plug it?
Yeah, should we plug it now?
Let's plug it. What's the new collection?
The new collection, it's called the Essentials. I have 2 other collections and they're pretty narrow. So I wanted to create something that was more broad for a bigger audience. Because not everyone knows what Durango is. So I have a Durango collection. Not everyone's into astrology. So I don't want to do necessarily that. So I picked like an Essentials. Yeah, that's my plug.
You can find it at DurangoCandleCompany.com. DurangoCandleCo.com.
Yeah, let's get that straight.
DurangoCandleCo.com.
And then eventually, I don't know when this is going to happen, but one of my goals in life is to create a cookbook. So I'm working towards that. But right now I'm just experimenting and having fun with the process.
It was so fun when I saw the Plates by Peyton rebirth. Yeah. And you thought I was being sarcastic.
I thought you were.
I love it.
Again, just like another little outlet. Like, and that's what's really interesting too. Like I'm going to bring that up. It's fun that what we do is marketing, because anything else we do outside of marketing, we're able to market. You know what I mean? And like I have fun doing that. So like a stupid video of me making cheesecakes for a freaking Christmas party, like it's so easy to just set up my phone and quickly make a reel out of it, because like that's what I do for a living and that's what I enjoy to do. So how can I like apply that to other parts of life? Like it's so easy to like cross promote or like cross like hemispheres. Let your
talents kind of
bleed in,
kind of combine. Yeah. How does Caleb feel about all the ambition?
He's the same way.
Is he?
Yeah, and that's what was really refreshing, is just being with someone who shares that same mentality, because it's so easy to be with someone who's not like that and they are dragging you down or like pulling you down and stuff, and you're kind of like tied to an anchor. It's refreshing being able to like share the same like qualities and personality with someone. He's definitely a more like outgoing, outspoken person, but he definitely has the drive and ambition that I do. I just have it a little bit silenter.
Silenter.
Yeah. Quieter. Sorry.
I feel like yours is more apparent. Maybe it's because I work with you more closely.
Yeah.
I feel like the drive and ambition on your end is louder, if anything.
I think it's louder because it's across a bunch of different stuff, but he's just passionate with one thing and he goes all in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And he's got a great story too.
He
it's
does.
so fun to see you guys like growing together, and
Yeah.
you know, it's just it's fun to be watching.
Yeah.
You know, watching from the sidelines, all of it.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting, like just who we picked to be with in life and everything. And there was a while there where I was like, I'm going to wait a freaking long time because I don't want to like waste my time, and I don't want to like be with someone who's not there to grow too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's really fun.
Because you're not going to stop growing.
I'm not going to stop. And like that's what was hard with past relationships is like I did stop.
Mm.
And it's not just like relationships like love relationships or anything. Like it's not just that. Like it goes across the board. Family relationships, friendships, business relationships. Like you have to apply it to like all of life.
Yeah. And if you're not growing, you're not feeling the fulfillment.
Yeah, and that quote of like you are the 5 people you hang out most with and stuff. Like I take that so serious. Like I'm not here to waste my time, and I know that sounds really harsh, but it's just like I'm not here to waste my time and just dilly-dally along. And
that's been the other unique thing about you is you've always had this confidence to just march to the beat of your own drum.
yeah.
Like you have circles of friends that are so diverse, and like, and I think it sounds like that's pretty intentional of choosing who you're spending your time with and who you're being around, because you know it's going to influence
It impacts
these outcomes. I've observed that from you for years of like,
in what ways? I'm curious.
the way that you've connected with everybody. I
Yeah.
mean, the sports teams, the Harley teams, all of it. I've just watched you like insert yourself into these subcultures, intentionally, and like get little bits of insight from them all.
Yeah, it's just so interesting being able to do something like that. Like, let me tell you, I don't know jack about Harleys, but like just the people and the culture that they have there, like it's just so fascinating to like dive yourself into something new.
It's awesome.
I don't know.
It's great.
Yeah.
Peyton, thank you so much for being who you are, because I need to tell you this, you truly inspire me. And from day one, I mean, even, we're wrapping up, but just for, you even had the confidence to reach out to me when you were, still in school, and even your ambition and confidence stood out then.
Yeah.
Way back when you're interviewing me for a senior SEM project. But I want you to know that the ambition doesn't go unnoticed. The passion doesn't go unnoticed. The depth and the authenticity that you bring to the things that you do, it's so refreshing to be around you, because you know that if Peyton's going to be involved, whether it's work or play or life or relationships or whatever, that she's going to be involved all in. Yeah. And I just need you to know how important that is and how much it matters, because it impacts everybody around you. You're a multiplier and a value adder, and the things that you're involved with are better because you're involved with them. And I think it contributes obviously to the talents you have, but also because of the mentality you bring to being involved with them, of going all in. Yeah. And whether it's our softball team or your life pursuits and hobbies or our projects here at work, and I just am sincerely grateful for it.
I appreciate it.
And you need to know how much it matters, because the world needs more of that. I think if more people were truly all in on things, we'd have a little bit different outcomes than we have sometimes. So thank you for being you. Thank you for going all in, as hard as that is sometimes. and thank you for letting me, pick your brain and learn from you, because you inspire the heck out of me. And, I just admire you.
I appreciate it. And thank you for letting me be part of your journey, because I know it's definitely extensive too.
I appreciate it.